order. It's 8:31 on Thursday, November 20th.
Yeah.
All right, take roll. Tracy? Stricker?
He's there.
Yes.
Sauger? Moorfield?
Here.
Fairly Bishop? Here. Prophet? Kelly? Smith?
Here.
Erickson? Here.
Do we need a motion to let Mark attend remotely, Alicia, or?
Yes.
So moved.
Okay, and I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Then do we need to retake roll?
No.
Okay. All right, so up next, I'll take a motion to approve the August 20th, 2025 minutes of the McHenry County Enterprise Zone.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I will open the meeting up for public comment.
There's a big line outside.
I see that. Anyone? Anyone? All right, hearing none, we will close the meeting for public comment, and it looks like we have no new business.
No new business.
Okay, so moving on to financial reporting, turn it over to Mark.
Fantastic. All right, so everyone in front of them should have a copy of the profit and loss, or budget versus actual, as well as the balance sheet. Give me a second while I get my notes pulled up. I apologize. I was ready for everything else, except I just didn't quite get this far. Here we go. Okay, starting with the profit and loss budget versus actual. All partner contributions have been received and booked. That'll be for this fiscal year. And then project fees are tracking according to budget. I anticipate seeing a few more projects before the fiscal year is out, so I do anticipate hitting above or beyond that project fee. On the expense side, there's only two expenses there, and one would be contractual services, which we are tracking right on pace with budget for that. And then you'll see a $12 charge on there for a return check. So the story behind that is the state, after we finalized and submitted our Marengo edition, the state sent us a check. Michael Frerick sent us a check for $65, which is some balance that was held before we submitted Marengo, and after everything was finalized, they sent us that balance for $65. It was well within the period of being able to cash the check. We deposited it and they pulled it back out. The state pulled it back out. So we got hit with a $12 return check fee from our bank. So I did send an email to the treasurer to just kind of inquire about that. I mean, we are not going to get that $12 back from Associated Bank, but we might be able to get that $65.
Can we get the $12 from the state?
We can try.
Did you talk to the bank?
I did talk to the bank.
They wouldn't waive it.
They wouldn't waive it.
Change
So,
banks.
what's that?
Change banks.
I think that might be a conversation that this organization wants to have at some point, because I don't really know, what the initial choice for Associated was, but I don't know. So to kind of bring that to a close, that's the big line item on our expenses for this period. So any questions about the profit and loss?
Can you just remind me what the fiscal year is?
It is March through April.
Thank you.
Or April through March, one of those
April through March.
April through March, thank you. Yeah. So yes, then balance sheet wise, nothing out of the norm there. Total assets 48,000, total liabilities and equities just the same. So everything balances, all looking healthy and good right now. questions?
We can approve these or accept them.
Marty?
You said there's no action, right, Mark? This is just a report?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Thank you.
So we move on to the next one?
Yep, so I'll just briefly update you on the bank signatories, which has been another fun project with Associated Bank. The signatories have been, as is the role, the signatories have been in flux. I think we're kind of getting to the point where we have a consistent board. Larry is the vice chair, Jessica is the chair, and so we're going to update the signatories as such. There was still a number of people from prior that were signatories that didn't need to be on there. So this document contains all the updated signatory information going forward. The signatories will be Jessica, Larry, and then myself as the administrator. So you guys will have the board positions on there, and then we can sign and do bank activity and have access to that. Once this is complete, we will be able to access online banking, which will make our lives much easier for the financial reporting, because I have to go to the bank and get statements right now. So yes, Larry's all good to go on this. Jessica will need your signature, and then I should submit that, and it should be done. Any questions about that?
Can you remind me where we landed with the other officers?
Derek is secretary,
Okay.
and that's all we need.
Got it, okay. So we don't have a treasurer?
No, I mean, there hasn't been one to my knowledge.
Yeah, no, I'm not. Okay.
So, just since the bank subject, I mean, Associated Bank, easy to work with, hard to work with, you think there might be something that would be better? And what, maybe Peter or Lisa remembers, I don't remember, I was here, but I don't remember the history of why we got started with Associated Bank.
Yeah, I don't know. One thing that I'll share, and Deb, maybe you can share some insight into this. I don't know if they're generally any more challenging to work with. I'm just not used to working with government accounts and the layers of security and signatory stuff that is necessary there. Once we kind of clean things up with these signatories and can get online banking, I'm hoping it'll be much more streamlined and we can have easier access. But it is a bit of a challenge just to have that kind of nothing else is going on there. So it's an extra set of steps with Associated.
Nothing critical, see how it works out once you get all this cleaned out, and then we'll revisit it if we have to or something?
That would be my feeling from the administrative side.
We use our local bank and there are quite a few steps.
Yeah.
And they need the personal IDs of everybody, all the signatories and all that kind of stuff. So it's
Yeah.
probably not anything out of the
Probably not abnormal. I'm just used to business accounts, right?
All right, we'll move on then to partner reports, starting with Harvard.
Don't have a whole lot other than good news on Harvard Nutrition. The City Council approved their zoning map amendment, which was great, and their height variance. So they're moving ahead with their project, which is really good news for them and for Harvard. We're in the next steps of getting their sewer water needs hashed out and some of the other project or the road improvements and the infrastructure that they're going to be needing out there. So we just had a meeting last week. We have actually had 2 meetings with them since. So we're moving forward with that. Expect that to pick up after the holidays.
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of that, which one?
Harvard Nutrition.
Oh, nutrition,
And then that's the big thing going on right now. Also had a meeting last night for admin, and the Harvard Fire Protection District would like to partner with us through an IGA to do all of our fire suppression, basically our fire inspection services and plan reviews, permitting and plan reviews, which would require us to pull that out of our building department to partner with them on doing that. And in talking last night with the mayor about that a little bit more after the meeting, how that would look for enterprise zone.
Okay.
If they were, so those are fees we currently waive, right, for the enterprise zone, because we administer all those fees. So how that would work, and I didn't know if I know you guys don't do it.
We don't waive anything fire department related.
So your fire department manages their own inspections for fire suppression and all of that. So that would be a fee that we would no longer be able to waive as an enterprise zone incentive. So just getting an opinion on that, on how that would look. And I think it might be something we could incorporate into our IGA, as if the business fell within the enterprise zone and was taking advantage of those benefits, then the fire department would waive those fees as well. Something in that regard, but just thought I'd bounce that off and see if there was any other input on that.
My thought, and I don't have the expertise on this, but my thought would be that you could just adapt your IGA to include or exclude if you want to ask the fire department to waive those fees. That could just go in there, because that's how the school, in the case of Woodstock, that's how the school district abatement shows up. It's it's the city abatement, and then the school district has a whole other section that says here's how the school approaches it. So from the permit waive fee perspective, you can just say the city of Harvard will waive up to X percentage, this and this, excluding, because they all of your IGAs say excluding like engineering and external third party, surveys and things, those kind of permitting fees. And so you could also just include the fire in that, and then if you do create an arrangement, you can just put that in there as well, which we're going to talk about expansion a little bit, so there may be an update to the IGAs, like that might be a good time to incorporate that.
We're probably a few months out with any action. We're going to wait until we have the building director position filled, so they can look at the fee structure as well. Donovan was the one who modified our last fee structure, and we're not quite sure how he incorporated all of that fire suppression into those permitting fees. So we're going to have to kind of break that down and see what we would pull out. So we're probably looking at like spring on that, if they move forward with it.
From a perspective of when we share the fee reduction with the projects, they're kind of just grateful that it's streamlined and there is a reduction. They're just kind of like, oh great, they're not asking. They've never asked me about like, well, can you itemize each fee, and which is not something I would do. So I don't think it's the biggest deal, but they're just happy that there's some
kind of break. Okay, thank you. That's all I have.
Marengo?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to report, except after the last meeting, I did ask Mark to come and do a presentation for the Marengo City Council. There's a few new members and a new mayor, just to update them on the enterprise zone, along with the other services that Mark provides through the MCDC. But it was a good update and a reminder for them that it exists, first of all, because it gets lost. With everything else going on, all the other programs and services that we provide or offer. So it was a good update. Our utility extension project is moving forward on 23. So that was discussed, I think, last time a little bit. But really, that's all I have for an update.
Right, Woodstock, that's me. So a couple things relevant to, one thing relevant to Enterprise Zone is the hotel development, the downtown hotel development that had stalled for a little bit as the developer was having some challenges securing financing, is now moving forward. They've secured financing, and we took the opportunity though to basically entirely renegotiate the redevelopment agreement. The original was lacking, and so we were able to incorporate some kind of standard obligations that were missing, as well as some protections for the city, since we are conveying the land and offering TIF reimbursement for that. So that'll go to City Council on December 2nd. Assuming they approve that, it will move forward. Construction expected to start when they get through our development review process, 6 to hopefully 6, maybe 9 months. So by fall of next year, that the hotel will go under construction, and about 12 months for construction and getting open. So fall of 27 is when we're expecting that to open. Enterprise Zone was part of that conversation from the beginning, and it's referenced within the redevelopment agreement. Have they connected with you?
No.
Okay, I need to make that connection then.
Yeah. That's in the TIF, right?
It is in the TIF, yeah, yep. But there will be significant, obviously, materials costs and so
Yeah,
that could,
of course, yeah, I mean, we would be
Oh, but right, yeah, so, but
absolutely proactive to-
it would only be that portion of it and our fee portion of it. So I will make that connection with you so they can take advantage of that. Not related to the enterprise zone, but I know of great interest. We are moving forward as well with Murphy Development Group and an exclusive negotiating agreement for development of the die-cast site. Hopefully. Hopefully.
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh.
I know, it's challenging, but we're pretty optimistic. Murphy Development Group is one of the better resourced, more active development firms in the Chicago area. They've not done development in this part of the region before, so they've been great to work with so far, so we're pretty confident. I think if they can't get it done, then we should probably just put a park there or something, because then that's, at that point, it's probably us, not them. So that's moving forward. A couple planning efforts, our downtown master plan, as well as our UDO update are moving forward, and one will be completed, the downtown master plan, the first part of next year, the UDO update either late next year or the first part of the following year will be completed. So we think both will contribute significantly to our ability to effectively attract and then get development through our pipeline. With Route 47, construction starting spring of next year. We're also looking to move forward with a Route 47 corridor plan so we can take advantage of those improvements and kind of the beautification of that area to also start to encourage private investment and reinvestment into that corridor. So that's what we're working on in Woodstock. It's a lot. Yes, yeah. All right, and then the administrator's report, so back over to you.
All right, so on the project side, as you can see, its season is shifting, so we're definitely not seeing the volume or the pipeline of projects coming online. However, there are some ongoing projects that are beginning to kind of resolve themselves, come to a close. I'll touch on those real briefly. In Harvard, the Verizon Wireless, that is on track, and I had a call with them to prep for final enterprise zone reporting with their VMAC. Their project end date was, I think, January, so in terms of our schedule, in terms of enterprise zone schedule, they are ahead of schedule. There was the Harvard Downtown project on IRE, and when I say these, I say the project name that I have, so it may be a different project name. This is the project name that the project lead submits to us, so you may have a different name, so feel free to ask if you want to know. So the Harvard Downtown project, which was a renovation of an existing facility, building material exemption certificate was issued. They had a completion date of October 31st. I have a call out for reporting, but haven't heard back yet. We've got till March to do the reporting, but I do like to kind of stay proactive on it. Centerville Lake Avenue renovation in Woodstock, building material exemption certificate is issued. They had an estimated completion on that project of November 30th, so I'll be following up after the holiday. Alpha Manufacturing, they have an open Woodstock as well. They have an open application. They verbally told me that they probably weren't going to end up using the enterprise zone because of their project is kind of drawn out, but they're kind of glad to know that they have that ability. So no BMEC has been issued. We are in touch with them. I think the city's in touch with them, so they have us as a resource if they want to use it. Lastly, Revolution Golf HD in Harvard, building material exemption certificate issued. I had a call with the contractor last week. The project doesn't close till August of next year. I would anticipate, based on what the contractor was saying and the scale of the renovation, they should be completed by, hopefully by the end of this year. So any questions on any of those projects?
Is the Revolution Golf, is that for the whole residing and the facade?
Is what I understand, yeah.
They're going to be completed by the end of this year.
That's okay. They have until August of next year, and even if they went until, so like the reporting, I like to try to stay on top of the reporting as much as I can and get it in, because the state gets pretty overwhelmed. But the reporting can all be done in April and March and April, right? So for the entire year. So as long as the project's end date that they put on the application is in the tax year that they do the reporting in, so like their projects, that one in particular, they can finish that anytime next year and get the reporting over to me, and I can get it to the Secretary of State. So not a big deal. I just again am very proactive about it, because I am still closing a lot of projects that from the past that never were closed, right? And it's a huge list that I'm kind of going down. I've sent a number of mass emails to close them out, and it's hard to get that information. And what happens is, if the project never closes and the reporting is never done by me or the individual, I should say by the administrator or the individual, is that if that individual, their firm, or whomever, whether it's a contractor or a person, if they go back and apply for another enterprise zone project, they'll be denied the building material exemption certificate from the state of Illinois, because they never closed their prior project, never reported the sales tax on it. So, like I said, I want to stay proactive and make sure we're doing our end. There's little that you can do to get a contractor who doesn't want to report to report, but we try to I do have I think a good system set up so that we're collecting that as quickly as we can.
And you said you reached out to Tomas too and haven't heard back.
Yeah, but it was only last week, so he's got plenty of time.
Okay.
All right. So I've had multiple, I think, discussions with each community separately about expansion potential of the enterprise zone. I think now that we sort of have our administrative ducks in a row, we can have an effective conversation on this piece. And so I put a few slides together just to familiarize the group with the process behind it and what would need to happen. This isn't intended to be comprehensive, but this is to demonstrate what the process would look like if we chose to expand by a single piece, or if each community said, hey, we want to add 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 100 acres of parcels. So from some communities I have some suggested parcels that they want to add, and for others, if we do want to pursue this, we should kind of come to a consensus about it. So what expanding the zone means, obviously it would allow new development projects or key sites to access the existing easy incentives, which includes the sales tax exemption at the state level, the investment tax credit at the state level, and then tax abatement at our individual municipal levels, as is written in the IGA. Each designating unit of government, so in our case that's McHenry County, Woodstock, Harvard, and Marengo, would need to adopt an amending ordinance. So if just one community chose to expand and everybody else said, this is not the time for us to do it, there's no reason to do it, each community would still need to update the IGA to send to DCEO. All for one for all, right? So contiguity is required. Any parcels that are added must remain contiguous with the existing enterprise zone boundary, right? And that does include right-of-way, right? So the small pink strips that are aligned with Route 14 and 23 there, right? Those do add to the totals of the enterprise zone total boundary size, and that's how we maintain the contiguity, right? So if that, suffice it to say, in that segment in Woodstock that you see up there, if you wanted to go north from that, it just has to maintain that connector, right? That connecting line. That is sufficient for contiguity. Now the criteria is different depending, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. So since our enterprise zone includes 4 units of government, we have a maximum of 20 square miles or 12,800 acres. Our current footprint, the current footprint that you see up on that map right now, which includes all of our enterprise zone, is 8 square miles, justifiably leaving 12 square miles available for potential expansion. Before I move on, is there any questions about this, what I have, the information I have here? Okay, so the pathways for the amendment to expand our zone, there are two, right? And I think it's easy to segment them into project-based or database. The project-based, call that an immediate benefit pathway. That is if there are sufficient jobs added that this project would create or retain full-time jobs, remove a development impediment, some kind of infrastructure project or something to that effect, or stimulate revitalization of the area. This is out of the state statute. There are not particular criteria in the state statute that dictate the amount of jobs. Obviously, if you are looking for the high impact business side of things, that is a totally different job number. You're talking 500 jobs and $50 million in investment. But that's not really what we're talking about here, right? So in accordance with the state's statute for enterprise zone, really anything that is a significant or remarkable improvement in jobs in that area is justifiable to apply, right, or ask DCEO to amend, as long as you agree with it. Now, some of the communities have individual criteria in their IGA that dictate how large the project needs to be in order to receive their tax abatement, and that's for you guys to kind of discuss at your community level, whether you want to maintain that or whether you want to change it to accept a project. But what I'm saying here is that these are DCEO's criteria, right? So one could ascertain from the project-based methodology is that if you had a large enough project that's just outside your zone in your community, and you were able to draw a contiguous connector to the existing zone, that would be justifiable, right, on DCEO's side. That's a perfectly appropriate expansion opportunity for the zone. The other way is what I call the data-based eligibility pathway, and that's to use our example, is what we did to add Marengo to the zone. We had to look at the state socioeconomic tests, which I kind of go into here, but are a bit more complicated. Has to be the greater or equal to 120% of national unemployment rate, which I think is like 4.8 or something like that in that area, and 20% of the poverty rate. And then there has to be substantial vacant structures or brownfields. It's not a requirement for the brownfields that they're already enrolled in IEPA, but that's one of the eligibility criteria for that. I put those up. There are more socioeconomic tests, but I put those up there because those are the ones that are relevant to us. The other one is the other ones are including if it's a former mine, right? Which I don't think we have in McHenry. I don't think we have a former coal mine. I haven't. Maybe you know some.
I would go gravel pit would be a mine, but I'm not sure how that.
It's not. No, it has to be like it's I don't remember the term for it, but energy something community. So it's energy related. So these are the two pathways to expand. So either a project-based expansion, or if you want to encompass a large amount of parcels, into the whole thing, you can say, well, if they all meet these socioeconomic tests, then we can incorporate those parcels. Both routes require sort of the same process, including a public hearing and an ordinance update. DCEO has to do their review process, which is a 90-day review. And then I think, it goes without saying, option one is a project-driven thing, like if you had a significant project outside of your existing zone. So, any questions on the two pathways?
No.
Okay. The parcel addition process, this is a simplified 5-step version. I wrote this from the perspective of what the administrator has to do, because it's your government process is obviously different for updating the IGAs on your side. But from, the first suggestion is kind of the pre-screen. Confirm the contiguity, that it is within the acreage limits and parcel and project details, and then say, are we doing this for a singular project, or are we just doing it from, for the perspective of incorporating into the zone in the future. Public hearing has to be done, which, I think we would do in this room or at this meeting, to hold that, and a transcript has to be recorded and sent to DCEO. The amending ordinances are adopted at the local level in advance of sending this to DCEO, and then the IGA has to be amended to reflect the new parcels in the zone. That's really obviously where your governments and we have to work very closely together to make sure that we're representing everything accurately and effectively. Once those things are completed, we get it over to DCEO for their review in the packet, and then they will issue an amended certificate. That's where they have that 90-day period. I think that it generally is faster than 90 days, right, generally, but they have a maximum of 90 days to put it through their review board process. And then, of course, we need to activate it and file with our recorder, update the maps through GIS, and then that's when we can start issuing the building material exemption certificates, working with the assessor and so on and so forth. So I would say, a very collaborative process where we all have to kind of work together, and 12 to 16 weeks is, I think, a reasonable time to represent to somebody who is, hey, we've got this project, what's the timeline for getting it into a zone? And that's what I have to share on that. Questions, comments, concerns? Nothing?
We're in.
You're in.
Yeah, I'll have to look. I think we'd be hard pressed in anywhere contiguous to our current enterprise zone boundaries to meet 3 of those requirements.
Right. And we can look at our existing outlay and say, okay, I see why we did it like that, because we may or may not meet the means test. But it is important to keep in mind that, hey, if there is a project here, if there's a potential project, we can absolutely do that. And I don't want to discourage. I am kind of saying, hey, if we're gonna do this, it would be beneficial for us to all come together and make that decision. But I also don't want to discourage. We don't control when these projects come online. So if there's an opportunity and we want to say, hey, this is new. I know we just updated the IGA, but we will absolutely do that. And if we have to call a meeting to get it done, that's what this tool is for in McHenry County. I don't want to say, hey, we're going to do this once and then we're never doing it again. I'm very, very willing and open to work with you. And I am willing and happy to work with NIU's Government Center to identify whether or not the means tests are met for certain areas. That's what we did last time. You don't have to do that work. You just have to send me the parcels and say, we would want to include all of this and make sure these are, and then I can take that to NIU and get them to do the data analysis. And they have a whole department they have a one-person department that's dedicated to evaluating whether or not that these are appropriate for the zone based on the means tests.
So what is the next?
Next step, you send me your parcels. So let's confirm the contiguity, make sure we're all within the allotted acreage, and then verify whether or not, whether we have the opportunity to use pathway 1, because that is, I think, frankly, the easier path to go. But if not, if you say, we really want to get this in because of a future planned use, then we need to look at getting the means test done.
And does that look like just sending you a list of the pins that we want to? Okay.
Yep. That's a great place to start. Obviously, I'll have to come back with questions and please use the enterprise zone map that's available through our website or the GIS to verify, like, we want to try to get close with contiguity, right? Which is generally true in most cases.
And then do we want to set a timeline or a deadline, say like by the end of the year or?
You have ours on
I have what you sent me
original,
already,
yeah.
so if you have any updates, but yeah, end of year I think would be great, and then
Okay.
we can kind of start the clock. We'll have the opportunity to touch base on it in our January enterprise zone meeting.
Perfect, yeah.
Okay.
Or let's just say that before,
Before
or
the
end of
next-
year, and then that gives you time to do some
Mhm.
looking at it so that we can have a informed discussion at our next meeting. Okay.
So by January or December 31st?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Did they change the requirements, the process for these amendments to add? Just previous, it just seemed like it was a longer process and the administrator was looking to write a big report on it. It was gonna take this many months to do that many months to do this. Did they change the process or it's just you have the process a little more streamlined for us?
I think the process is the same as it was. Obviously, the part in working with NIU and DCEO can be a challenging thing, and I would guess that that NIU part is the report segment that you're referring to. That can be challenging, and it's, I'm referring to that all being in advance of that 90-day review that DCEO has. So that could draw it out. I don't want to say we're going to get this done, bing, bang, boom, but generally I think that it's the process is the same.
So you still feel if you stay on top of it, that the 12 to 16 weeks is real?
I really do think that, yeah. I think that you can have a wrench thrown in your spokes, obviously, from the merit review, or I'm sorry, the criteria review, but I believe that we can meet that.
I think that's great.
And it's also a bit dependent on our ability to.
Yeah, and
Work,
getting
right,
your
yeah.
IGA done, obviously, you have, meetings at varying times, and if it doesn't.
Our schedules,
Yes.
our
But
council
that
schedules.
just, to have something that would be project-driven, to have that time frame is just way better than what I was hearing when we started this whole
Yeah.
enterprise zone thing 10 years ago or whatever it was. So, good.
The one parcel that kind of sparked this discussion on our end, so it would qualify for option one, but what if they didn't do their development within 2 years? Then what is there like do they get pulled from the enterprise zone, or do they just kind of?
I will have to do more research on that.
Typically, it's like a good faith
Right,
kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
that's kind of the question that
Mm-hmm.
they're saying, they don't follow, the tip that was going to happen, is it going to happen?
Mhm.
Well, if I have enterprise zone benefits, I can do it, but
Yeah.
I'm still skeptical on that.
Yeah, I can't say for sure.
Okay.
I can look a little bit more into that.
I think it's intention based.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions on that?
But I'm also from a different planet, so.
A different planet?
Yeah.
Colorado's a different planet now?
Feels like it sometimes.
You're going in 100 different directions.
Okay, and I did want to provide a update on the opportunity zone. Once again, this body doesn't have any authority. We're not an administrator for the opportunity zone. There's no authority over it. That's a federally designated area. But I think that it's important to make this body known, make this body aware of it, because it fits within sort of the same parameters as the enterprise zone. So as we know, as we discussed at the last meeting, in July 2026, the governor of the state of Illinois has the opportunity to elect up to 25% of their state's eligible low-income census tracts for nomination for opportunity zones. So speaking in generalities, right, that is around a 1-to-1 of what the a 1-to-1 ratio of what the existing opportunity zones are in terms of what they're eligible to select, right? So there will likely be priority for existing designated opportunity zones. I don't think I don't think there's any reason why we shouldn't be proactive at the county level and at the MCEDC level about saying, hey, we have eligibility for 2 one or two or more opportunity zones here, and we want to submit them for consideration. So I'll touch a little bit on what we know from from the DCEO side, which is very little. We are in communication with DCEO about this. They are waiting, well, as we were talking about before, they're waiting on the release of the Treasury guidance that's going to dictate the actual eligibility criteria. I think with most eligible opportunity zone communities, I've provided you with a map that DCEO is using and we're using to base our estimates off of. But it is not the federal government's map, right? Until Treasury dictates what they're using to make that determination, which could be any time, we really don't know. But there's good guidance that, these particular tracks are eligible. So DCEO also has no formalized process that the governor's office will use to select. So what my recommendation is that we can collect and compile the demographic and economic data or statistics and really kind of tell the story of why this tract. Oh, thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. This is the Novogradic is a consultant who is making who has made a map of potential opportunity zones, right? And so, yeah, if you zoom into that area, you see it's segmented by likely eligible, likely rural, likely not rural. This doesn't include existing zones. This doesn't differentiate anything between existing and eligible zones. This is just an eligibility map.
It might be easier just type McHenry County into the.
Yes. There's that big green one up there is Harvard, right? So this is that is Harvard Chemung. That's the existing opportunity zone. So likely eligible, likely rural, right? And as we know, rural, qualified rural opportunity zones get more benefit than non-rural, right? So as you can see, Harvard, Woodstock has the same likely eligible, likely rural. Lake in the Hills and Crystal Lake also has that same, has a likely eligible, but it's not going to be rural. It's a very densely populated area, whereas the other two aren't, hence the rural. And so, once again, it's up to the individual communities to be to be considering whether or not they want to pursue this, right? The way that I am approaching this from the MCEDC perspective is kind of the same way that we would approach any competitive grant, because ultimately this is going to be a competitive process at the from the governor's perspective, right? So we'll write our own compelling narrative as to why these areas are eligible or why there should be an opportunity zone here, and then we can compile that. We have been in touch with R1. They're going to be doing sort of managing the logistics of submitting this for the entire EDD. They're willing to do it on behalf of McHenry County too. So obviously for existing opportunity zones, collecting that historical investment data will be huge, which there isn't a tool to do that we have access to. I'm sure the federal government has it, but we don't have any, like enterprise zone, I can send you all the projects whenever you want. But we don't have any tracking mechanism for opportunity zones. So we'll have to just basically kind of take it off of what we know has happened and what our communities know have happened and kind of verify that.
That was one of the challenges of the original opportunity zone legislation was there was no reporting tracking mechanism. So it's really anybody's guess in terms of how, and there's varying opinions in terms of how successful it's been.
And in the new legislation, there are more reporting stipulations, right? So the people who use the zone have to report more, but that is really not going to be in front of us. So that's once again why I think kind of creating this opportunity to have sort of a managed opportunity zone in McHenry County is smart, because we can do a better job. If we're the ones that are taking the inquiries, we can do a better job of tracking and staying in contact with them. So, once again, I think the main takeaway from this is let's collect, if we want to pursue this, each individual community wants to pursue it, let's collect the data, the potential impact of it, and start to frame it up the way that we think is going to be relevant to the governor when he makes his selection in July 2026. And I will I am committed to keeping everyone updated if I hear anything from DCEO about a process for selection.
Do we know so is the federal government is saying that each state will have the opportunity to have this percentage of their qualifying census tracts approved?
Right.
Is each state guaranteed to have 25? Because I fear the current administration's distaste for our state may have an influence on whether or not we actually.
So I haven't read that deeply into the OBBEA, but my understanding is that the state has the opportunity to submit 25% of their eligible tracts, which, there's like 1,000 eligible tracts in Illinois, and there's like 327 existing opportunity zones. So that math means there's like 330 eligible, right? So that's not a huge expansion. We're hoping some would potentially drop off in other areas so that we can have more. But I don't know if it is, a guarantee or not from the Fed perspective.
Anything else?
No, sorry, that was a bit long-winded, but I thought that these were important things for us to cover and be on top of, so.
No, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
All right, anything else from anyone else?
Is this your last enterprise zone meeting?
Unless you have an emergency one.
Yeah. Congratulations. Appreciate your commitment to the enterprise zone for.
Appreciate all you.
Are you done at the end of the year, or do you have a
January 2nd.
January 2nd?
The enterprise zone board didn't get you an award.
That was it. Thanks. Pat you on the back.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Attaboy. Give him an attaboy.
All right, then I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned at 9:08.